Good evening, everybody, and welcome to an evening edition of Share Your Story on the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association's official Facebook page. The setting's a little different. We're doing this from my home this evening because we're going to be speaking to somebody out in California, and we have a little time difference there. So I want to remind you all, if you would like to share your story with the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association's community, I encourage you to all send an email to support@4hcm.org and say, I want to share my story. And then we'll get back in touch with you, have you process with an intake, and get to know you a little bit better if we have not already spoken. And then we'll schedule you for your time on our Facebook page so you can help bring a face to hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So without further ado, I am going to introduce my guest. This is Laura Gildengorin. And good afternoon or evening, wherever you are there, Laura. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. As Lisa said, I'm Laura Gildengorin, and I am about 30. I am 30 years old. I'm not about 30 years old. And I'm an attorney in California in the Bay Area. Yeah.
And we just met at the Stanford meeting in Palo Alto a couple weeks ago, and you were kind enough to get up and share your story with that community. And I said, we need to talk. So tell us and tell our watchers, when was the first time you heard the term hypertrophic cardiomyopathy?
Sure. I think I had been exposed to it before I even heard the term. But the first time I remember hearing it, I was at UCSF at a family cardiology appointment. My mom had been diagnosed already, and all three of us, me and my two brothers, had fainting spells and kind of odd occurrences growing up. So I remember being in a room at UCSF and being told that actually both of my brothers had HCM. And I seemingly dodged that bullet, and that was about 10 years ago.
Okay, so how old are your brothers now?
One of them is 36 and the other is 34. I hope that's how old they are, because one of them always gets mad because I mess up my age. And he'll watch this somewhere.
They'll forgive you. They'll forgive you. So they were in their early 20s when they got diagnosed. And how old was your mom when she was diagnosed, or that you first heard her talk about HCM?
She actually recently told me she was diagnosed when she was about 40. And I didn't hear about this until 55, 60.
Okay.
Yeah. So
she kept the diagnosis quiet for a while.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Okay. And your family has some significant history with HCM. So things aren't exactly, mild.
Right. So my mom, the first major occurrence that I remember is she actually on my oldest brother's birthday was walking her dog, and she ended up losing energy and ended up on the floor in a sudden death situation. And this story is terrible. I won't get into it now, but she ended up in the hospital, and she had an ablation. She had the pacemaker put in, and I think she actually had a stent put in all at the same time. It was terrifying, and both of my brothers now and myself have had the SICD put in, the subcutaneous ICD. And my oldest brother has been hospitalized many times with VTAC, and my middle brother has probably the thickest heart out of all of us. And oddly enough, probably the least amount of symptoms. But yeah, we all experience it in different ways, but it's all pretty severe.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to mention, that in one family you have different presentations, different symptoms, and however, the risk is still there for all of you, so you're all protected with ICDs at this point. So you didn't get diagnosed until recently, though, right?
Right. So when I was 29, actually, I looked back at my appointments. I got told in June of last year. And by August, I had a defibrillator implanted. But yeah, very, very recent. Very recent.
And pretty quick from I'm fine to I'm HCM to I have a device.
Yes. Very startling. It's been a total roller coaster. And I have wept a lot. I walked in a 29-year-old healthy girl. And in the back of my mind, I told myself, they might tell you that you need a defibrillator and that something's really wrong here. And no matter how many times I told myself that to be prepared, the moment Dr. Parikh started talking and I knew what she was going to say, I welled up and I wept for hours.
And now your care is out of Stanford now, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so you were at UCSF and now you're at Stanford.
Yeah.
So, and when you were diagnosed, you had to discuss your hobby because you have a unique hobby for a 30-year-old woman. How is it?
I compete in Olympic weightlifting. So weightlifting, snatching, and clean and jerking for any of you that know what that is.
And to anybody who knows anything about hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, that's scary for us to hear. So how are you balancing that?
I am honest with my doctors. I was honest from the moment Dr. Parikh sat me down and told me about my diagnosis. I said, I don't want to stop lifting. It's really, really important to me. I am an attorney, so I am high stress all of the time. And that is my social time. That is my de-stressor. That is where I laugh and where I have goals that are outside of my career, which is really important, and we weighed the pros and cons together. And I promised her that I would never lie to her about it. And that is key for me. She knows what I'm doing. She told me she would never excommunicate me. She would always treat me. But she did want me to be honest about it. So I pay attention to myself. If I feel an arrhythmia, I stop lifting for the day. Sometimes that's hard.
Let's talk about this balancing thing because it's a little scary. So you're not exactly what I would call stable yet. You've been home this week, feeling well and adjusting your meds. So you're still kind of getting used to all of that.
Yeah.
And what are you doing lifting now?
I actually have not lifted since Friday because I have felt so bad. And I spoke to one of my friends and she said, Oh, I know you must feel really bad then. Because I will push through generally no matter what. But yeah, all day yesterday, my heart was going and jumping up between, my resting is about at 50 beats per minute. And my heart was going between 75 and a little over 100 with chest pain, which isn't terrible, but it also is not good. Just a contrast.
And not conducive to going and lifting like you lift, because that whole lifting thing scares me.
Right. It's a heavy load for someone's heart. It is.
Okay, so you mentioned that you were never going to not be honest with your doctor, and that's admirable. But you're a 30-year-old attorney.
Yes.
I think you know how to assess personal risk.
Yes.
And have you balanced your own understanding of your own personal risks, and have you cognitively gone forward with understanding this is informed consent and I'm doing what I want to do within limits and I'm going to communicate with my team?
Absolutely. I looked at my doctors and I said, I hear you. They were very honest with me about what I was getting myself into and how they cannot recommend it and how it could be very dangerous. And I am going in with eyes wide open. And a part of that is being self-aware and recognizing things in your body. I can feel when I have arrhythmias generally. And for me, that was how I kind of talked myself into getting the defibrillator so quickly. Was it acts for me as an insurance policy. And my understanding is that a lot of athletes kind of use it in that way. Yes, we have this problem, but we love this sport. It's a part of our identity. And it brings so much joy. So I will implant this thing and know that it could save my life. So I use that. But you have
now, correct?
I have the SICD, and then I have the link. So the link is basically like a long-term heart monitor, because I don't have the pacemaker that records all the time and records all my data.
So just for the people who aren't familiar with the difference in devices, so a transvenous device is a typical pacemaker defibrillator that would go in the upper chest in today's world, and there would be leads going into your vein and into your heart. The subcutaneous ICD is a box that sits on the side of the rib cage, and instead of the lead going into the heart, it's tunneled across the chest and up the chest, and it sits on the outside of the breastbone. It has to deliver a stronger shock to get through, but it doesn't have pacing capability. So there's right and wrong devices for each person, but this device does not monitor your heartbeat in a way that they can do any type of, measuring and recording of PVC burden and VTAC burden, et cetera. And that's where the Lynx comes in. Right. So how does the Lynx feel? Does it bother you?
It doesn't really bother me. It's like a thumb drive, and they implanted it right underneath the skin. I told you the story earlier. I pulled out the the stitch by accident. Long story.
Yeah, more fun with this girl. She scares me. So that's the Lynx monitor. How does the SICD feel? Is it comfortable? Is it heavy? Is it nothing?
I wouldn't say that it's heavy. Honestly, I can't sleep on that side the way that I used to. Some nights I feel I can kind of roll, and I roll and it's comfortable and it's sitting fine. Other nights I try and it's like, this is not happening, and I flip over to the other side. I have a pretty small frame too. So you see it, it's definitely not hidden by any means. I mean, it's right here. So generally when you're walking down the street, you don't see it. But if I raise my arms, or if I'm in a bathing suit or something like that, you can definitely see it. Not heavy. I've gotten more used to it. And I'm happy because it allows me to move without putting any load or stress on any leads, which was the big problem.
For you to do weightlifting, like that whole big jump and snatch thing, I don't know what to call it. That's really about the worst thing you could possibly do to a lead in your chest, because it causes what's called the subclavian crush, and you crush down on that lead. So a regular transvenous ICD would have been a horrible idea for you.
Right. Which is why that was actually part of my decision process, because you do need to get tested for the subcutaneous. There was a special EKG, I want to say, where they put me on a bike, and Boston Scientific came in and they do their magic. I don't know exactly what they're looking for. But I was like, if I can't get that one, I don't know if I want to get the other. But I got lucky.
So you got lucky. They're looking for the proper windows so that they can get the defibrillation threshold in the right parameters, so that the generators here and the leads here, and they've got to have this coordinated effort to get the defibrillation through the right threshold. So I'm glad it worked for you.
Yeah, me too.
And it seems like you're adjusting well to it, and you're totally right. If we could get these damn arrhythmias to calm down, we'd be okay. But we'll get it.
We will.
You're in the hardest time, I believe, for diagnosis of HCM, and that's the first year or so. You know, yes, it's been in the background, but it was your brothers and it was your mother. It wasn't you. And now it's you. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Okay.
It was them. Now it's you. How are you coping with all of this? It's a lot.
It is a lot. And there is, I'm in a very particular situation, and I think a good situation where I was able to see what it feels like to be a family member and what it feels like to be the patient in a very short period of time. Because when I was telling my brothers, you know, of course you get the ICD. What do you, this isn't even a question. This is your life. And to be on the other side, it was like, oh, hold on. Don't tell me that. Like, I don't know if I want that yet. I cope by talking about it, by being open about my feelings. I cry when I need to cry. I go and I do the things I love. I'm trying within bounds to not allow it to change my life too much. But you're right. This is the hardest time. I did have to stay home from work this week. I don't feel well. I'm sleeping most of the time. But I think being yourself, this doesn't have to change who you are. You know, you're still the same person. And asking for support in the way that you need support. You know, I know that I needed to talk about it, and I needed to be told it was going to be okay some of the times, and other times I wanted to just scream. So you all, you know yourself, you know what you need to get through tough times, and I've really been cognizant of that and allowing myself to go through all of the stages.
That's brilliant, because a lot of people don't allow that, and they either deny the feelings at all or they wallow in them.
Yeah.
It is a process. You have to accept this feeling and process it and then move on to the next feeling. And that's how we get to a point of acceptance and moving on with our lives. But as we go through that, you and I discussed yesterday, there are people around us, and some of them get it and some of them don't get it.
Yeah. You
know, your family members obviously get it because they got it.
Right.
But what about, they get it because they got it. But your friend, let's talk about the positive and the negative. How are the friends doing with all of this?
I had a incredible clarity with seeing how my friends dealt with it. I had some friends that really showed up and would call me every day, would sit on the phone with me for hours, would show up to my house, and were really there for me in a positive way that showed me how much they love me. And then I had some friends that were gone. Exactly, that didn't show up. Maybe they couldn't handle it. Maybe they didn't know what to say. Maybe they didn't care about me as much as I thought. Hopefully not. The door is still open. I know it's weird. I'm 30. We haven't dealt with this a lot. So, and you take that as it is. You can't force anyone to do things that they can't do, or they're not willing. But it shined a bright light on a lot of relationships for me.
So yesterday I had a Starbucks meeting with somebody who's going to help us with a big fundraiser coming up. So stay tuned for that. But she does event planning. And She has HCM, and she was telling me that a friend and her used to walk every Saturday like 5 miles. And over the summer, she had a problem walking the 5 miles and had to stop, and was shortly thereafter diagnosed, and the friend won't walk with her anymore. And she finally called up her friend and said, I'm fine. I can do this. I can walk again. And basically confronted the friend. And I thought that was pretty great. Yeah. I haven't heard that the friend's gone for a walk yet, and it's going to snow here in New Jersey this weekend, so it's not going to walk this weekend. Yeah. But I'm hoping that her friend says, okay, I can do this. But we scare people. Yeah. We really do scare people. So I think part of this Share Your Story series is to tell our friends and our coworkers that we're not that scary. We won't break in front of you. We're self-contained with defibrillators in some cases, so you don't really have to do much. Just pick us up. Right. And be okay. And we'll definitely be okay. So through this experience of some of the friends showing up, as you put it, which I think is an excellent way to put it, and some of them not showing up, do you have any tips for somebody else going through that? How to deal with it? What's worked for you?
I think I touched on it a little bit earlier. Voicing what you need. If you voice what you need from a friend and they still don't show up, then maybe that's a relationship you can re-examine. The friend that I dealt with, we actually ended up talking about it. And I said, I did feel really bad. It hurt my feelings. And I get we're all going through things, but I needed you. You weren't there. And she has shown up. And I think we expect people to read our minds. We think, of course, so-and-so, she's known or he's known me for 10 years. They know what I need in this type of a situation. But that's not true. That's not necessarily true. I'll reword. Right. That's not necessarily true. People want to be put in a position where they are helping someone else and they are helping that person in the way that they want to be helped. And I think being able to say, hey, I just want you to sit there while I cry. Great. Then they can do that for you. So I think my biggest piece of advice is saying how you need support and asking for it.
That's fantastic. So what are your plans when it comes to weightlifting? What do you want to do? And what are you willing to give up?
This week has been really hard for me. This is actually a week that my programming was set to allow me to what they call max out on Saturday, which is go for your best. You put in all of this work, and this is kind of like the treasure at the end of the program. So it was hard for me to not go in this week. I want to keep lifting, get back. I have to get things under control, which I understand. And hopefully get into some more competitions. It's been a little rough being a lawyer. Schedule's a little crazy. But yeah, I want to do a few more competitions this year and see where it goes.
Now, if you can't compete, would you still lift for you?
Yes, 100%.
And you would find that satisfying?
Yes, 100%.
But you really like to compete because you're a type A attorney who wants to compete.
Of course.
You've known me how many hours, and I got that figured out already. I wonder if being type A is part of the HCM genetic. Because there's a lot of us.
It's true. It's true. We're fighters.
We have to be in our families. So we are doing this for the first time at night. So we have a few viewers with us now, and if anybody has any questions, they're welcome to ask or make any comments. They can ask general HCM questions, and I'll do my best to field them, or they can ask our guest Laura questions about her experience with HCM or lifting, or just let us know that they're there and watching. So you can make your comments. So while they're deciding whether or not they want to make comments, I will ask you, this event at Stanford was your first event.
Yeah.
And what did you think about being in a room with other people like yourself?
I loved it. I actually didn't realize how big of an impact it would have on me. But I was on a high the rest of the weekend, like I didn't realize that being around other people with similar stories what that would provide me. And I would recommend it to anyone. Even being a part of the HCMA group is huge.
So I sent you a message earlier this week, and I've connected you with a woman out in your area, and we are going to try and create the regional support group out there. And we have a number of people. We have a number of people ready to set up and get that going. I'm chuckling a little bit because Donna from our office is watching, and she's saying hi, and she's like, "Hi, I'm watching," and it's the HCMA is watching. So hi, Donna. So that's kind of cute. So yeah, and she's laughing right now. I can actually hear her from here, and so she's getting a little chuckle there. So we're hoping that we can have a regional support group. We looked at our calendar for the year today and really nailed down some dates. And I'm looking at like the first or second week of June to maybe come on out and maybe do a launch meeting. And while we just did the meeting at Stanford, that wasn't a Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association meeting. That was a Stanford inherited heart disease meeting. It's a little different. So we're looking to bring it back right on out to the Bay Area. And we are going to be working with a site visit at UCSF, bringing them into the fold. And we're in communication with Kaiser to see if we can start something within the Kaiser system. So if we have the Stanford folks and the UCSF folks and the Kaiser folks all bringing their patients together to be educated and to let them know they're not alone, we're going to have a really big voice in the Bay Area. And nobody out there should ever feel alone again. Yay. So I'm looking forward to that. Yay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we've learned that 8 o'clock at night on the East Coast is a low volume live time. So if you watch this video afterwards, by all means, please post your questions below, and either Laura and I will get back to your question or comment. You can reach out to either one of us on the private group page if you want to talk there. And we'll be more than happy to continue the conversation, because I know there are those closet jocks out there who want to do weightlifting and who want to do things that maybe their HCM docs are really not keen on. How do you do that? How do you stay safe? I got to give one last plug. Are you in Live HCM yet?
No.
Oh,
I don't think so.
So we can get you signed up to Live HCM. We need another 400 participants. Live HCM is a study that monitors how much exercise we're doing.
No, I'm not in that. I will do.
We got to get you in. Yeah. So we need people who are doing all different kinds of activity, whether you can barely, walk around the house and get out for the day and maybe do a little bit of, going to the gym or weekend warrior once in a while, or you're going to the gym lifting crazy amounts of weight over your head with that little tiny body. We do that. So whatever you're doing, Live HCM is. We just did an interview here with two of the investigators, Drs. Day and Lampert, and it tells you all about Live HCM. You can go to livehcm.org and sign up, or go to the HCMA website. You get a Fitbit. They evaluate medical records, do some questionnaires, and they track how much activity you're doing. And then over time, we can see what's safe and what's not so safe. So we need you to do that. Okay. Yeah. Laura, thank you so much for sharing your evening with us. It's so nice to have you here. And we'll look forward to getting that support group up and running and letting you meet lots of other people with HCM.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And we